Hey, what's up guys, welcome to FineGap, and in today's video we are going to learn the use context hook in React.js. In the first part of this video we will learn the concept of use context hook through a drawing, and in the second part of this video we will learn this through practical. So without any delay, let's start. Before starting the video, I would like to talk about the prerequisites. You must have npm and node.js installed on your computer. You have understanding of React.js and React.js hooks. Before moving towards the practical, I would like to teach you the concept of use context hook. So for example, you have a web page. Inside this, you are displaying multiple products. So here is a single product card. Inside this card, maybe you have a button which says add to cart, and this is your main component. Inside this component you have another component named cart, for example, and now here you are displaying the number of items in your cart. For example, initially these are 2. Now once your user will click on this add to cart button, if you are using only a state variable, what will be happen? Maybe you have a global state somewhere else in your main component, and then you will pass this state to your inner component. From this component you will pass again your state to next inside your child component, and from this component your state variable will be updated, and once your state will be updated, your all of the components will be re-rendered, and this state will be updated to this cart quantity as well. But the problem is, what you have 8 or 9 or maybe 15 child components, for example. So here you need to deal with prop drilling. So what is prop drilling in React? For example, you have a main component, you will pass your state to this, and let's suppose you have again inner, and again you have a child component, and again you have a child component, or let me draw only 5 components then. So in prop drilling you need to pass your state to this. From this you need to pass at this component, again you need to pass this and this. So you are passing your state even in those components where you do not actually need them. So here use context hook comes in, where you can avoid this prop drilling process. You will create a context, and that context will be used here and used inside your actual component. Once you will update your state from here, and then the context will be changed, and then the cart quantity will be updated on the main page as well. So I just tried to teach you with an example. Now we will go toward practical, so I can show you how you can actually do this in React. First of all, we will create a new React project. I have a folder named React in my computer. Here I will type cmd. Here you need to type this command, npm create wheat@latest. Press enter. Give your project a name like wheat context. I will press enter. You can give any name to your project. From here I will use the arrow keys of my keyboard, and once this arrow will be on React, I will press enter. From here I will select the TypeScript, and now you only need to run 2 more commands, which is cd wheat context and npm install. So until this command your React project will be created. Now you can also run this command, which is npm run dev. This will run your project in your browser. But before this, let me open our project in Visual Studio Code. After opening your project, if you want to see the current output, you can click on these 3 dots. Here you will see the terminal option. Click on new terminal. Here you need to type the command npm run dev and press enter. So our project is running on this URL. Let me control and click on it. So you can see that this is the output for our current project. If you want to remove all of this content, simply open your source folder and you will find an app.tsx. Inside the return statement of your component, just remove this complete fragment. And now you can see that we have an empty page for our website. Next, open the VS Studio Code. From here, I will remove these 2 import statements, because Vite logo and React logo, we do not need these components anymore. Let me close this sidebar as well. Don't delete this useState and app.css, because we will use this for styling, and we will use our state to update the cart quantity. So let me name this state to cart qty and set cart qty. The initial value will be 0, it's okay. Items in your cart are and let me type here cart qty. If I show you the output, items in your cart are 0 because we assigned the 0 value by default to our this cart qty state. Next, inside the source folder, you need to create a new folder named components. It is up to you. If you do not want to create this folder, obviously this is fair, but if you will create, this will help you to organize your code. So always learn how you can organize your code. So components folder means all of our application components will exist inside this folder. Inside this, I will create our first component, which is children.tsx. Inside the component, you need to create an basic structure of a functional component, and now we need to import this children component in our app.tsx. To import this inside our app.tsx, I will type here import children, and we have a components folder and we have this component. We have successfully imported this, and let me here type children, and that's it. So you can see that the children which is coming, this text is coming from a children component, and this text is in our main component. And for your better understanding, let me type here parent. Here I will type space, so you can see that. And now inside the components folder, I'm going to create another folder named grant. Inside this folder, I'm going to create another component which is grandchildren.tsx. Again, this creating this folder is not your actual requirement. You can again create this grandchildren component in your main components folder, but obviously if you will create this, it will help you to better organization of your code. Inside this, I will do again the same stuff, which is a basic structure of a React component. And now we need to import this grandchildren component in our children component. So again, let me type here import grandchildren from grand. We have a grandchildren component, and inside this, let me type here grandchildren. So that's it. We have an error because we need to wrap this in a fragment, because you cannot return 2 elements at a time. If you have 2 elements, you need to wrap this in an empty fragment or maybe an empty div. So now you can see that error is gone. We have a parent, we have a children, and inside our children we have imported our grandchildren component. After this, here the actual coding for our useContext hook will be started. Let me remove everything first of all. Inside your app.tsx, okay, before this you need to create a new file here, which is maybe themecontext.tsx. Again, you can give any name to this, like user context, theme context, according to your requirement. Inside the theme context, you need to import create context from React. We have to import this, and then let me type here theme context. We have create a variable, and here inside the create context, let me type here dark. So this will be the default value for our theme. Inside this example, we will learn how we can use context hook to control the visibility of our theme, either the dark theme or light theme. Okay, now let me type here export default theme context. That's it. So this was the code that you need to write in your context. We have imported the create context hook, not hook, but we have imported the create context from React, and then we have created a variable named theme context. We have created a context, and the default value we assigned to our context is dark, and now we are exporting this inside your app.tsx. Now we need to import this. So let me type here import theme context from theme context component which we have created. And now inside your return statement, let me remove this empty fragment, and before this parent we need to type here theme context dot provider. Before this you need to type like this, and obviously the closing bracket will be goes in the end. So the first requirement is you need to wrap your actual parent component. So maybe this component is not your main component. Maybe this can be, for example, you only want to use this context inside these 3 components. Okay, let me choose the red. So it means if you want to only use this context inside this tree, so you need to wrap this component in your provider. You do not need to wrap the ultimate main component in your provider. So the first step was we have created a theme context. We have import this in our app.tsx, and then you need to type here theme context dot provider. You need to wrap your children in which you are importing your other children. Like inside our children component we are importing our grandchildren, so we need to wrap this in theme context dot provider. The next step is you need to type here value is equal to, and here I will assign an object to this like cart qty and set cart qty. So now inside our grandchildren we can access this state. We can also access this set cart quantity function to update our state. So let me open the grandchildren.tsx, and if you notice we are not going to do anything with our children. So this is up to you that how much child components you want to create. Maybe you can again in your grandchildren you can create another sub grandchildren or maybe whatever you say to this. So this is up to you, but in our example I only create a children component. Inside this you can see that I do not imported any state. I'm not going to do anything with this. I just imported our grandchildren component inside this, and this was the purpose of children component in for our this video. Let me remove this theme context as well, and now we need to open the grandchildren. And now for example here we have the button to update our quantity, or okay, actually inside our example we were talking about the cart quantity. So we have created the context for theme context. Let me provide empty to this unit. We have made a little bit mistake here, so you can provide empty null because we will use state. And so here you have to ignore my minor spelling mistake because we have used this context name theme context. Maybe you can use here cart context, or let me update here. So I will type here cart context. So we need to update this in every places where I'm using this, and in our theme context we need to also import this cart context, and I'm also going to update this file name to cart context. Okay, so that's it. So I just do this so this name can match with our example that we are learning in this video. One thing you need to make sure that we do not need to write this return statement like this. We need to type here like this and like this. And now if I show you the output, you can see that our app is currently looking like this. Without touching the children component, I will directly move to my grandchildren component, and here we need to import that cart context. So you can see that in hierarchy it is first of all going back in our this components folder, and again it is going back in our source folder to get this cart context. And now, and one thing you need to more import, which is import useContext from React. So we have imported our context and useContext hook. And now inside your grandchildren, what you need to do, you need to create a variable like, you need to create like this. Let me type here, and now let me copy this cart qty, paste here, and obviously set cart qty. Obviously you can change the name of these two variables. These names should not be the same like this. So because we are passing them here like parameters, so let me show you with an example. Cart quantity like C, and C stand for changed, and I'm again going to type here set cart qty C for changed variable. And now I will type here is equal to use context, and now inside this context we need to pass our cart context like this. So now let me show you how we will display this inside our grandchildren. I will type here items are cart qty. We need to type them in brackets, and we need to press C at the end as well. Okay, so friends, I think this was my mistake. We need to define the same variable names because this is just this is assignment in JavaScript, and inside this rule for example you have an object on the right side. Let me show you what we are doing here. For example we have an object. We are going to create a variable like A and B, and let's suppose inside the right you have an object which contain A and B. So if you want to assign these object items to separate variables, but you need to make sure you have same variables names as your object name. So obviously this is just an assignment in JavaScript. You can learn about this. Let me copy and paste this here, and if I refresh, so you can see that the same state we are accessing this state in our grandchildren component. And now if you want to update this, let me type here button and increment cart qty. We have to set on click listener to this on click, and here I will pass an arrow function. So you can pass your arrow function like this, And here you can also skip this. Let me type here priv state, and here I will type here priv state +1. And now we need to cut this, and we need to type our setter function name. This function will be used to update our state. So let me type here set qty cart qty, and inside this we need to pass this function. Basically in our state this will contain the previous state, and now we are just incrementing our state by 1. Again we are missing that empty fragment here. I will press this empty fragment here. Now let me refresh. Okay, this gone to an infinite loop. Let me check the issue. Okay, so friends, there is a little mistake in our grandchildren component, because when we set on click listener, maybe we can define a function here. We cannot directly call this function, because first of all we need to define a callback function here. Let me first of all cut this so you can understand. I will define a callback function like this, and now inside this we need to write our this set state function to update our state. Now if I refresh, so you can see that everything is working very fine. And now let me close this. If I click on increment cart quantity, again this is not working. The page is slowing down. I think again we have an infinite loop. Let me check. So I have checked, there was no issue. I just do not save my this grandchildren file. Now if I have refreshed my page, so you can see that initially once our page will be load, the cart item will be 0. Let me remove this so you cannot be confused. This was just to show you that we can also access this state inside this. But now if I click on increment cart quantity, you can see that we do not do anything in our children component. We are only using context from our, which is a provider in our main component, and we are updating the quantity. So now maybe we have one component, and it is up to you that maybe you have 4, 5, 6 components. So you do not need to import your state. You can use the context to directly get that inside your this child component. So friends, this was the concept that how you can use this use context in your React application. You can use this for user authentication, and one of the most used is you use dark theme or light theme in your application. So you can use a theme provider in your ultimate main component, and inside your components you can put your style based on conditions. Like if theme is dark, the color should be like light, and if theme is light, the color should be dark. So I hope that this video will be helpful for you. If you have any question, you can ask us in the comment section. I will try to answer your question, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel for our regular videos. And finally, thanks for watching.